Right. Okay, so I've got something for you. I'm going to explain what it is. But one side's got a happy face, like me all the time, and one side's got a sad, grumpy face, like Janice all the time. So you can have this, and you can have this. This is going to be interesting. Okay, so who likes playing snakes and ladders? Snakes and ladders, yeah. In fact, I'm going to get Janice, I'm going to get Claire. Just so you can join in. And here's a hint: if you get lost, follow Claire. Claire has absolutely no idea what's coming next. So snakes and ladders, you throw the dice, and you've no idea where it's going to go. But just if you land at the bottom of the ladder, isn't it brilliant? Just go straight up the ladder. But you see when you throw, like you're hoping for a 3, and you get a 2, and you land that snake's mouth, and you go all the way down, and then you get another one, and you go down another snake. That's just does my head in. But that's like, and when you're up, when you get a ladder, you're really, really happy. Happy face? Happy face? Yeah, happy? Okay. But when you get the big snake, yeah, sad like that. So, and life's a bit like that. They're full of ups and downs, and that's just normal. But it's how you deal with it that's important. So, what face would you show if it was a holiday from school? No school? Okay, what if you fall and hurt your leg? Or break it like somebody did? Yeah. Or you get a surprise present? Surprise present? Yeah. Or you're out having fun with your friends? Yeah. Or you feel sick and you have to stay at home? Oh, yeah. Okay, so, in our story today, I need you to help me, because sometimes the people in the story are having a great time and they're happy, and so if that happens, you can hold up your happy face. But sometimes the things are going to be hard and difficult and sad, and then you show the sad face, okay? So, and you know that in God's special family, that's the Jews, and they've been taken captive, and we've looked at Daniel and his friends, and then just recently we've been looking at Esther and Mordecai. So they had all been taken captive away from their own land, and they were taken to Babylon as slaves by King Nebuchadnezzar. Well, now many years have passed, and the king is now King Cyrus, and he's the king of Persia, and he decided to allow whoever wanted to go back to Jerusalem, because he wanted them to build a temple, and he thought, if these people go back, and although I don't serve their God, if they build a temple to their God, they can go there and they will pray for me, and their God will be good to me. So that was why he wanted to allow them to go back. So, and he thought he would take all the gold, because remember Nebuchadnezzar had taken all the gold and silver out of the temple and taken it to Babylon. But King Cyrus said, well, if they're going to go back and build their temple, I'm going to give them all their gold and silver back with them again. And he also promised to pay for whatever they needed, because it's a big job to build a temple. And he says, look, whatever you need, whatever wood and timber and anything you need, I will pay for that all. So they all went back, or at least the ones that wanted to, went back and settled around Jerusalem. And they were there. So I think that was pretty happy, yeah, because they were able to go back home, this place that they'd been taken from. So once they were there, they began building the altar first. But they were afraid of all the neighbouring people. Sad, yeah. So they were afraid of them, but they carried on building right where the altar used to be. And it was hard work. But when it was finished, they made sacrifices and offerings to God, and they celebrated all the Jewish feasts according to Jewish law, and it was a great, big, happy celebration. Yeah, happy. Yeah. So now it was time to start rebuilding the temple, and they worked hard getting the foundations right. But when they had the foundations right, they had another celebration. Celebration, yeah. So it was great. And the priests put on their robes and they brought instruments and they praised God and they sang and they shouted, "Praise the Lord." It was just like Sunday morning here. It was really good. It was a celebration and it was full of joy and thanks to God. But they had enemies. Enemies? Yeah, sad. You have enemies. And the enemies, first of all, they pretended to help. They wanted to help. But the Jewish leaders say, no, we need to build this temple ourselves. We know the right way to build it. So then their enemies tried to discourage them and make them afraid. Yeah, so they discouraged them and made them afraid. Yeah, it wasn't good. And they tried to slow them down and make them stop. But the Jews just kept on building. And like now their enemies, they wrote to the next king. So he was King Artaxerxes. And they said, look, if you allow these Jews to rebuild the temple in the city, they're going to be strong and they won't pay you taxes. And so the king forced all the building to stop. Yeah, it wasn't really very good. So after all their celebrations, then they had to stop. And they stopped for ages. But eventually, there was a new king, Darius, and they started building again. And their enemies complained again. So the enemies complained. And they said, who even gave you permission? And they said, but King Cyrus told us to rebuild the temple and he would pay for it all. So they went back and checked in the records and found that was true. So Darius said, no one is allowed to stop the Jews from building. They have permission from a previous king, and in fact, you see you ones that are enemies and doing all this complaining about them, you have to pay for them and help them. So that was pretty good. So, because he said, maybe they'll all pray for me, and God will be good to me too. And it was hard work, but now no one tried to stop them. And at last, work in the temple was complete. And guess what? Another celebration. The Jews loved celebrations. And they loved praising God, because God had helped them. It caused all these kings to get the permission and provide everything they needed. And even their enemies had to help them in the end, because King Darius had told them to. Now, meanwhile, back in Persia, among all the other Jews that had stayed was a priest, and his name was Ezra. And he was a teacher of God's law, and he taught the people all about God's commands. And King Artaxerxes said to Ezra, look, can you go back to Jerusalem and make sure the people there are still obeying God? And if not, you can go back and you can teach them, because I want these people to be praying and praying for me. And the king said, look, and any other Jews that want to go with you, you can all go back as well. You can all go back as well. And so, Ezra and the ones that were going with them, they fasted and prayed for a safe journey. And the king said, look, I'll send soldiers and they'll guard you, look after you. And they said, no, if God's going to take us back there, we can trust God to look after us. So they arrived safely and they praised and they thanked God. Yes, so, happy face. They praised and they thanked God for the safe journey. But when Ezra got there, the leaders came to him and said, look, actually the people, and even the priests, they weren't following God. So that was pretty bad, yeah. They weren't following God, and the priests have sinned, and all the people have copied them and did the same. So Ezra was really shocked and sad, and he prayed and cried before God, and he said, oh God, you helped your people in slavery. You kept them safe in the journey. You helped them here during all this building. You caused kings to help them, protected them. You've been so good, and yet this people have forgotten you and have sinned against you. And he cried before God, and the people realised they'd really messed up. And they cried to God too, so they were pretty sad, because they had really failed God. So Ezra called them all together, he called a big meeting, and everybody had to come. And he told them what they'd done wrong, and they needed to confess to God and put it right. And the people said, Ezra, you're right, we've sinned really badly. We confess our sin to God, before God today. Now tell us from God's law how we can put this right. And they do it. And they did everything that Ezra the priest had told them. So, we'll hear some more about this next week. We'll hear about another man named Nehemiah as well as Ezra. But this whole story so far has just been full of ups and downs. But yet, throughout all of this, God was always with them. And sometimes when things are hard, we just have to trust God. And when we look back, we can see He's there all the time helping us. But you know something? When things are good, it's great and it's easy to celebrate and thank God. But then when time goes on, and there's no problems, and we're beginning to maybe forget about God a wee bit, just like these people have done. And so it can be a bit dangerous, because if we look at problems, and that maybe we're not quite so focused on God as we were, and we think we're kind of doing okay. So, but the truth is, we need to keep on praying, and trusting and thanking God no matter what, when life is easy or if it's hard. If we're up or if we're down, if we're happy, if we're sad, we always need to be hanging on to God and always praising Him and praying to Him. Okay, so we're going to sing our song now. Janice let me pick a song this week, so I want to pick something to give it.